Freeholder Luciano, would you lead us in the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Present.
Freeholder Clark.
Here.
Freeholder Gill.
Here.
Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder President Watson.
Here. Madam Clerk, I have before me certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Meeting Act. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay, tonight, Madam Clerk, there are no agenda items listed for action. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone, state your name, affiliation, and you have 3 minutes to speak. And you may come to the mic and speak on any issue at this time. Okay, Madam Clerk, there's no one wishing to speak. Let the record reflect that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. Madam Clerk, are there any ordinances on second reading and public hearing for listing only? So let's move on to the ordinance on introduction and first reading, and please read it.
Ordinance to amend ordinance number O-98-0034 to amend the membership requirements and term of the Essex County Recreation and Open Space Advisory Board.
Okay, Mr. Sheila, would you please explain the ordinance for us?
Yes, Madam President. This ordinance, the administration is requesting to amend so that the makeup of the board will be 11 members, 2 of which will be standing members. 1 will be the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, and the other will be the President of the Freeholder Board or their designee. The other 9 members will be appointed by the County Executive with the advice and consent by this Freeholder Board.
Okay,
and all members will be serving a 3-year staggered term.
Fantastic. Okay, Mr. Polyvecchio, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
A question. Ralph, is this the current number of members that are on the Open Space Advisory Board, 11? Or is it increasing, decreasing?
I'm not certain of that, but I will definitely find out and confirm that tomorrow for you, Michael.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the question, make sure that the freeholders receive the response also, Ralph. Thank you. Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? No questions or comments. Do I have a motion and a second?
Freeholder Gill.
Freeholder Gill, I didn't see your hand. It was late.
So this is changing the composition in what respect?
Through you, Madam President, I think currently there might be certain members that are that hold certain offices or responsibilities. It's kind of very restrictive to fill those vacancies. So as we've done with a lot of our boards, we have representation by the Freeholder Board, representation by the County Executive, and then the appointees come before this body for advice and consent. And as always, we always look for anyone of talent and ability in their selected fields in terms of recommendations to fill these positions.
Freeholder Gill, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any additional questions, freeholders, at this time? Okay. Do I have a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance? And it's moved by Freeholder Vice President Siebel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson.
Yes.
So moved.
Madam Clerk, please schedule the ordinance for a public hearing. Madam Clerk, I see that we have no ordinances on second reading and public hearing for action, so let's move to resolution number 1. And Ralph, would you just explain resolution 1?
Yes, we've had this on the agenda, I guess, the last few meetings, but unfortunately, Mr. Alvarez was not able to attend. This is the advice and consent. The administration would like to nominate Mr. Victor Alvarez to the appointment of the Essex County Youth Services Commission. He will service a term that will expire March 1st, 2017. And at this time, I'd like to call Mr. Alvarez up to the microphone.
Very good. Mr. Alvarez?
Hello?
And again, for the record, just state your name.
My name is Victor Alvarez. I'm the Executive Director of the Partnership for Children of Essex. That's the Essex County Care Management Organization.
Okay, would you like to tell the board a little about you, other than what we have before us?
Sure. I've served in the Youth Service Commission for the last 4 years. I've been the Executive Director of the Essex County Care Management Organization for the last 4 years. I've been with the organization for 11 years. That organization provides mental health and behavioral health, as well as services to children with developmental disabilities. We are the largest care management organization in the state of New Jersey. We service over 1,200 kids every single month.
Okay, freeholders, while we have Mr. Alvarez at the mic, do you have any questions or comments? And Vice President Seabold, and I'll come back to you, Freeholder
Thank you
Johnson.
so much for being willing to give your time. You have such an extensive background, and what you will bring to this board will continue to be a real, something that's really good for Essex County. And I'm so happy that the county executive saw fit to appoint.
Well, thank you very much for the kind words.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes, I was just looking at your wealth of experience in dealing with our young people. And it's very important for this commission that you're going on, for them to use your expertise to help our youth grow in this county of Essex. So I tip my hat to you.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for me to be chosen to be part of this committee. It's very important work that's being done by this commission.
Freeholder Clark.
Simply, thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you.
Freeholders, do we have any other comments or questions? If not, Mr. Alvarez, let me thank you for your willingness to volunteer your time. But certainly as a member on the Youth Service Commissions, that's an area that we certainly need to concentrate on in this county. And we will vote on your nomination at the next week's meeting. And again, thank you for attending tonight's meeting, and we'll be voting on your appointment at our next meeting next week.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, the rest of the freeholders. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good night.
Okay, we have moved to resolution number 2, Madam Clerk. So, Mr. Scheller, please explain the resolution.
Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of our Hospital Center. This is a contract with Hudson Community Enterprises to provide janitorial services to our Essex County Psychiatric Hospital. This is a 2-year contract, amount not to exceed $2,834,400. This is a bid-exempt contract. The Hudson Community Enterprise is a sheltered workshop, and they do employ handicapped persons as a sheltered workshop. It is a pay-to-play exemption for a nonprofit 501c3 status, and this is the same vendor that has provided this service to the hospital center for the last 2 years. The last 2-year contract was roughly $2,802,000, so it's an increase of approximately $32,000 over a 2-year period, and we are very pleased with their work.
Do we have a representative?
Yes, we do, in fact.
Will you please call him to the mic?
My name's Joe Brown. I'm the president of Hudson Community Enterprises.
Okay, we'll ask you some additional questions in a few minutes. Let me hear from Mr. McInerney.
I don't have any questions, Madam President, just to kind of expand on what Ralph said with regard to the increase. This is a contract that allocates $118,100 per month. And the increase of $1,350 per month represents just a slightly bit over 1.1%. So it's a very nominal increase with regard to the total contract. It's a 2-year contract. I believe it's a year with an option to renew. So, and as said before, there's history here. So I just want to let you know from a dollar standpoint, it's a very nominal increase.
It's acceptable for the 2
over
years.
the previous years.
Okay, let's hear a little more about, although you've served us for the last 2 years, Ralph?
Yes, Madam
So
President.
let's just hear a little more about your company.
Sure,
I'm
we're
sure
a private
Freeholders-
nonprofit agency. Our Essex County offices are at 550 Broad. We use a social enterprise model in order to employ people with disabilities. So we run our own businesses where we train people with disabilities and we place them in jobs in sites like your Essex County Hospital site. In addition, we have a large document management business that's primarily at the 550 location. Over 200 Essex County residents are employed by our agency in the wide variety of businesses that we have. People with really all sorts of disabilities, disabilities that you'd recognize very readily, people in wheelchairs, people with mental impairments, and then people with disabilities that probably are not so visible, HIV/AIDS, mental health issues, but they're all trained and followed in our offices before they're placed in the sites that we have.
Okay, Mr. Polyvecchio, before I ask for freeholders' questions and comments, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, freeholders, do you have any questions or comments in reference to this vendor resolution? Freeholder Clark. Freeholder Clark.
Only, Madam President, that people with disabilities need an opportunity to be gainfully employed as well. And so it's a good thing that you do that, and it's a good thing that a large majority are from right here in Essex County.
Well,
That's
that
very
contract helps us do that, so we appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, freeholders, no further questions, comments? Okay, thank you for attending the meeting.
Thank you.
And being available for the questions that the freeholders might have, and we will vote on your resolution at the next meeting. Okay? Okay, Madam Clerk, we're listed, and let's move to resolutions. And we're going to take 3 through 6. Ralph, we'll start with 3.
Office of the Sheriff Contract Award to Communications Specialists, the lowest responsible bidder for repairs and installation services for vehicle emergency lighting and sirens, a 2-year agreement, amount not to exceed $100,000. This is an open-ended contract on an as-needed basis. Resolution 4, Department of Corrections Contract Award to Ironbound Medical Services, the lowest responsible bidder to provide for medical evaluation, physicals for correction officers, November 15, 2014 through November 14, 2016, amount not to exceed $272,900. This too, as well as an open-ended as-needed contract. They will provide for physicals for new officer candidates per the New Jersey Police Training Commission standards as a requirement for entrance into the Police Academy. Resolution 5, Department of Corrections Contract Award to DCO Energy, the sole responsible bidder for the maintenance of our HVAC fire suppression systems at our correctional facilities. This is a 2-year contract, amount not to exceed $7,375,000. This is a 2-year agreement. Last year's agreement was $6,475,845. This will be coming out of our operating budget, and they've been at the facility since the energy plant was actually constructed at the correctional facility. 6 as well. And
Okay, we only take 6.
the resolution 6, again, our Department of Corrections contract award to TBS Network Intelligence, for maintenance of our video arraignment system, a 2-year contract, amount not to exceed $74,400. As you know, video court operates at our correctional facility. It's a tremendous saver of budget for us, not having to transport the inmates, and this is contract is to maintain the video arraignment equipment at our facilities, and this is the same funding as our prior 2-year agreement.
Okay. Mr. Polyvecchio, before I go to the freeholder, do you have any questions or comments on 3?
No, not on 3.
Okay. Mr. McInerney, any questions, comments on?
Not on this, Madam President, no.
Freeholders, questions, comments on 3? Freeholder Clark.
Yes, Madam President, through you to Mrs. Jalala. Mr. Jalala, who provided this service before?
I don't have that, but I will research that and have that for the clerk
This
tomorrow.
is a new vendor?
I'm not certain if it's a new vendor or if they provided this service in the past.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you.
Because my second question is how much did we spend on these services in the...
Okay.
Because this is an as-needed contract, right?
That's correct. As the patrol cars
we
need
may or
lights
may
and
not
sirens.
spend it all.
That's correct. So, Madam President, I will provide what we spent last year and who the previous vendor was.
Very good. Freeholders, additional questions on Resolution 3? And this is a 2-year contract, so we're looking at $50,000.
That's correct.
Per year instead of the $100,000. Okay. Let's go to 4. Freeholders, questions. Mr. Polyvecchio, Mr. McInerney, questions on Resolution 4? No. Freeholders.
They're here, right? Madam President, you did request that representatives from Ironbound Medical Services attend this meeting, and they are in the audience. If I can call them up to the microphone.
Yes, very good. And for the record, this resolution was rescheduled because we needed to hear a little more from the vendor and some additional information that we needed in order to address this resolution. Your name, please, for the record, and your
Jill
association.
I'm sorry, would you say that again?
Jill Busanick.
Okay, and your
From Ironbound
affiliation?
Medical.
You with your affiliation with what company?
I'm the marketing director for Ironbound Medical Services. We are the facility that will be providing pre-employment physical exams for correction officers. We currently provide those services for the Newark Police, the Essex County Alternate Route Program, and most recently, Demarest Police Department. So we perform quite a few. I would say probably each time there is a class going through the Essex County Police Academy, we perform probably 75 to 100 of those evaluations for the Newark Police Department and the surrounding areas. We do perform quite a few other services for the local Newark businesses, including Department of Justice physicals, United States Postal Service physicals, as well as Air Marshal physicals. So we do perform quite a few law enforcement type physicals.
Okay. Ralph, just for clarification, at the last meeting you rescheduled this because we want to understand why we have a contract for 272 and it more than doubled the contract we had before. Could you put on record why you're requesting the additional funding?
Certainly. Well, the biggest point is that majority of the physicals previously had been conducted at our Essex County Health Center up at the hospital center, our employee clinic. So most of the physicals had been done in-house. The other reason for the potential increase is in 2015, there are some large numbers of pending retirements that we anticipate on bringing in new classes and new recruits to fill those positions once those those officers and superiors leave us in 15. So again, it's an open-ended contract. As we need to bring in the recruits, bring them into the police academy, we will then run them through the physicals so that it could be a timely transition for those physicals.
Okay, Mr. McInerney?
I just, when you were saying before, Mr. Cello, about they were previously done at the hospital center, does that mean that they're not done at the hospital center anymore?
They are, but you have to remember that we have one physician up there.
And that's the same physician that does workers' comp?
He does workers' comp. Okay. He does for the sheriff's department. Okay. He does for the prosecutor's office. So,
right. So it's
there really is a need, and again, it's on an as-needed basis, so that as we coordinate, we will try to coordinate those physicals.
Okay, so that was my question, really. If it's going to be reduced, if the ability at the hospital center is being reduced here for purposes of this contract, does it have an impact on our use of the hospital still for our workers' compensation?
That will have no effect. The workers' comp function at the psychiatric hospital under the tutelage of Dr. Rambaran will still continue.
Okay.
So that will still be a viable entity for the county.
All right, thanks.
So this contract, we increased it because we expect to have additional correctional officers coming on.
Correct.
I'm just trying to, so you expect to bring additional correctional officers that we don't think that the doctor at the hospital center can handle?
If in fact those employees that are pending retirements do retire, then we will need to utilize a good portion or a portion of this contract to do those physicals, to do the hiring of new officers. It's kind of like you know that on a list that you've got looking at 60, 70 names that have the potential to retire, whether or not they do retire, but you need to plan for those replacements and physicals and into the police academy. So this is kind of like a preventative to make sure that if we do need to put a class together rather quickly of 25 or 50, we can get those physicals done rather quickly.
And what did we spend? What did we spend last year?
I think last year, Madam President, it was $17,000 for physicals.
It's not counted.
That's just what was done outside of the clinic.
Okay, Mr. McInerney?
Yeah, but, so these are performed on a per unit cost, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so it's not to say, I mean, it's a big difference between 17,000, what they're asking for here, but that's not to say that we will expend the full amount of this contract. There's an estimate being done somewhere that indicates you may have to incur at the high side, and I'm not speaking for you, I'm just asking a question, on the high side, this amount of money. But this is only a not-to-exceed contract. So if your usage is less on a per-person basis, clearly you will not utilize this whole.
Precisely, that is correct, Madam President.
Okay. Freeholder Clark?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Mr. Shaw, I kind of thought that that's what you were doing, because you still use the hospital center for new hires.
Yes.
And so this is just in case. I'm just thinking, isn't it a little elevated for a just in case kind of number? Because, well, let's put it this way. How much does it cost per individual? And I guess, is that how you backed into your number?
I think the cost is roughly $377 per exam. But you have to understand something else, too, that in addition to new hires, we do have officers that are employed as correction officers that have not completed or have gone through the police academy. So their formal training. I think that number is about 116. So those 116 officers would have to go through this required physical before they enter the police academy. So you're not only talking about replacement of retirees and outgoing correctional officers, but you're also talking about those officers that have not been trained and have not been in the academy yet. So when you look at that, you look at what our hospital center could do in terms of their physicals and what they can bring on. We're projecting a higher number, but we're also looking at a 2-year period for large numbers going out in 15 and then in 16 too. So there is I can provide you with a summary of the analysis corrections.
Right. That's
that
what
might be helpful.
my thinking is. There has to be some kind of an analogous relationship between the number of people that you anticipate and the per individual cost, which is how you back into your number, and also which would give you some idea how much you may not use with this contract. Plus, it's a little bit more expensive to do physicals on your public safety employees rather than your average employee.
But Madam President, I think it'll be helpful if I share with the board the analysis that Corrections did for those individuals that we are anticipating retiring in 15, 16, and those that have not been trained yet for the police academy. And that'll kind of back you into where
I only have
that
one
guesstimate number
I only
is.
have one other question. Does this cost include the psychologicals?
No, that's different. No, Madam President, that's a different contract that we let to Dr. Fenari, I think, for psychologicals.
This could get a little pricey.
Mr. McInerney?
Yeah, the point's well taken. When you look at the differential between the two, you're talking about an addition, now it's a 2-year contract, but you're talking about additional 660 individuals. I always was under the impression we were always behind with regard to correctional officers and juvenile officers in terms of their training. I just thought that was a rolling cycle that, constantly happened. But hopefully, if the administration is good enough to give us that calculation, we can take a look at it and kind of justify where the differential is. But it is a big differential.
Okay, Mr. Sheila, that information would be helpful, and the board would have, members will have that information prior to
Certainly,
the
Madam
next meeting.
Madam President, one more thing with
Freeholder
that.
Johnson.
Along with that information, Ralph, I would like to, if you guys are anticipating so many people leaving, I would like you to let at least us freeholders know so that we can at least put some candidates up, because there's a lot of people looking for jobs these days, and they are qualified to do that job.
If I can, Madam President, as we do with most of those, if not all of them, they're civil service lists, and they are rather lengthy, and I don't know if we started a new list, so we're always interested in advising individuals when they can take the test to get on the next list, but we have to go and exhaust the list before the Civil Service Commission calls for another test and another list. But it is off a civil service list.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah, through you, Madam President.
Freeholder.
Through you, Madam President. Mr. Chayala, and I apologize if I missed it through one of my colleagues. Just a question I have. If you look at this contract, it says that we would be dating it back to November 15th. We're already in December. So what happens now in this period where we're sort of in limbo, and what if this contract wasn't passed? Are they providing services now, currently? No, right?
No, the reason why it was dated, as you remember, we pushed this off a couple of meetings. The representative from this firm was not available. We scheduled him for the next possible meeting, and